Welcome to the Peter Leg Podcast, where you're empowered to lead, inspire, and influence. Now, here's your host and mentor, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed speaker, and community leader, Dr. Peter Leg.
Welcome to the Peter Leg Podcast. I'm Dr. Peter Leg. Before we get to the interview, I'd like to share with you that I'm going to launch my free public speaking series. If you want to be a better speaker, become an effective and persuasive speaker, I can help you. Sign up for the ABCs of Public Speaking Seminar. Go to my website, peterleg.com. And now on to the podcast. Today is Fridays with Seniors, but my guests aren't seniors yet. They're very young seniors. They are volunteers who help the Seniors Service Society. Noel Roda, Volunteer Program Coordinator at Senior Service Society of BC. He has been with the organization for almost 9 months. He completed his Bachelor's of Social Work with the University of Victoria and have been very attracted to community work in the last few years. Gustav works in IT as the Information Systems Analysis. He volunteers with Senior Services as a digital trainer as part of their digital literacy program. As his occupation and volunteer work suggests, he enjoys learning and teaching about technology and its uses. Rossouw. Maria is a child care worker who spends her time playing the cello in a community orchestra, as well as volunteering with the Senior Services Society, BC Crisis Center, and Kids Help Phone. She will obtain her degree in psychology next month from UBC, where she has been studying for the past 4 years. Welcome, folks. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Noel, tell us about your work at Senior Services Society.
Yeah, so I'm the Support Services Program Coordinator, and I'm also the Volunteer Program Coordinator. So I look after some of the Better at Home services that we provide for seniors in our community, things like grocery shopping, friendly morning support calls, translation, interpretation, form and taxes, light housekeeping, coordinating, many different services that we provide, and all of these programs require volunteers. And so that's what brings us here today, and especially this week, since it's National Volunteer Week 2023, and the theme this year is Volunteering Weaves Us Together. So I just wanted to highlight how, the importance of volunteering, and how the actions and sacrifices that our volunteers make for seniors in our community are building connections or weaving us together.
Where would this country be without volunteers, millions of them, every week, every day, doing something for their community?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me, what brought you to Senior Services Society of BC?
Well, for myself, I suppose community work has always been something that I've always had an interest in. And even throughout my degree, I've had opportunities to do practicums at organizations like this. And so I've always found myself attached to the fact that I'm seeing people every day, meeting them where they're at. And it just brings me so much joy being able to work with people so closely and with volunteers as well. I think the sacrifices that they're making out of their own time, out of their own day, just speaks a lot about how we want to look after another.
Gustav, how would you answer that question?
No, could you repeat the question one more time?
What brought you to Senior Services Society of BC?
Actually, my mentor referred me to volunteering because before I had no idea. And basically she said there's a gap in the community. Seniors are not so in touch with technology, and who better to teach them than someone from like the younger generation who basically grew up with like an iPad or a smart device on their phone. And that's relatively true for me anyways. And from there I got in touch with Allison and everyone else at the Senior Services, and from there we just went on, and it really opened my eyes to see that there's so many seniors out there who basically have fallen behind or have been left behind with like information and where to gather that. I mean, I've noticed that the difference between a 15-minute walk to a nearest life lab to a 45-minute walk is just knowing where the nearest life lab is. And that's like, for us, we just pull our phone out and just type it up on Google and we know. But for a lot of seniors, they have to ask and, try to find out from another person. And it's a lot harder for them to get the information without knowing where to get it. And that's basically what drove me here and has kept me here for a while. It's just trying to fill that need.
Very good. Good decision on your part. Maria, what brought you to Senior Service Society of BC?
So I've been doing a lot of volunteering at other organizations around in BC, and I had heard about Senior Services Society through a friend, another student. And I have heard so many stories about seniors getting overlooked or not being able to get the services that they need. And so I looked into it and I heard about the grocery calling program. And it's really like, it's so easy for me. I just, I call and I put in the groceries, but for them, getting that liaison to online grocery ordering isn't so easy. So I thought it was something that I could so easily do that I felt like might make an impact. And, that makes me feel good, makes them feel good. So it's a win-win.
Well, tell me, what one thing have you learned from volunteering with the seniors?
I think before, so many people feel as though there's this obstacle between, you and people who are older than you, or you and people who are younger than you. But it's really not at all like that. There's so many things that like you share, you relate to. And what I didn't expect was to make truly meaningful connections with these seniors and to make friends, even though they're, twice, 3 times my age, 4 times sometimes, actually, 6 times once.
6 times? Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 22, but they were 102, but it's not exactly, but
Wow. So some of the people you look after are 100 years old.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. So what impact do you believe your volunteering has on older adults you work with? Gustav.
Oh, man. There's a lot. Something I personally take for granted is just knowing when to take, like if they're sick, when to take a pill. I noticed that a lot of seniors do miss their doses. They still rely on like a notepad or a calendar to remember to take medication around this time. And after seeing how many doses one client, well, more than one client has missed, or sometimes they even double up without realizing, just getting them an app. So the app we use is a MediSafe, and it helps them track their dosage, and it reminds them when to take a pill. Stuff like that, like information, just helping them better maintain their life and take medication. It's impact like that, where it's just helping them make their lives a little easier and potentially preventing a lethal dose of whatever medication they're on or missing a bunch of doses. Yeah, so a lot of stuff like that, where it's just the impact of helping them figure out ways to make their lives easier. That's the biggest takeaway, or the biggest one we've had, is just the little tools that we can give them to help them make things easier for them.
Now, I for the three of you, I'm guessing it's all volunteer. All three of you volunteer your time to do this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noel, let's start with you. Why exactly do you do that? Why do you volunteer your time? Why is it so significant to you?
Well, actually, I'm the volunteer coordinator, so I'm getting paid for this. But I mean,
not a lot of money, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's something. It's something. But yeah, why I do this, definitely, I think it circles back to being part of community, and the fact that there's a lot of folks out there, and just like you mentioned earlier, Peter, that we're all essentially going to be seniors ourselves, and I think there's parts of us that owe it to each other to look out for one another, and in the future we'll be needing these services ourselves, and some people are fortunate to have connections with families and friends that they already do, but unfortunately, not everyone does have that. And as I've noticed with my time here at Senior Services, that there are some seniors who are very, very vulnerable, who unfortunately don't have many friends or family to call on to. And so that's where we come in. And I feel that as volunteers and as an organization, we're very fortunate to be able to offer these services that require volunteers, that involve volunteers, because it connects people. And just going on with the theme of this year, volunteering weaves us together. I think it's wonderful that we're able to have volunteers so involved, because it provides an opportunity not only for seniors but for volunteers to also be connected with other members in their community. And so how I approach my role as a program coordinator, a volunteer coordinator, is that, we're not only providing services for our seniors, but in a way, we're providing services for other folks in our community. Wonderful people like Maria and Gustav, who want to do more, try something different, and be able to sacrifice their own time to help. I think I'm very fortunate to be able to be at the crossroads of all that. So that's why I'm here.
Maria, how would you answer that question?
What, sorry, the question was, what is the
Well,
impact I make? Or?
Yeah, what is the highlight for you to volunteer for senior service?
Oh, it's the connections that I make. They're so lovely. And I do the grocery program, and I also do the support program. And I just love hearing about, their stories and what they were thinking about this week. And a lot of the time we do talk about the weather, but I can tell that sometimes they just I like feeling as though I'm making a connection, they're also making a connection.
If the three of you weren't there for these seniors, how would they cope? Gustav.
To be honest, I think some of the activities or some of the tasks they'd be doing would take a lot longer. Some of them might not even get the attention or help they need, especially with like COVID and after all that happened, a lot of businesses and services were switched to online. So even booking like at Life Labs would be really hard, or getting to see a doctor would have been a lot more difficult for them. I think they would take a lot longer to do a lot of things that they need to do now, and not even get the information to do it. Yeah, it would be a little bit harder for them for sure.
Well, tell me, what impact do you believe your volunteering has on the older adults you work with?
Well, I think it helps them kind of at least keep up just a little bit with what's going on. Like everything's changing so fast. With the whole pandemic, we switched a lot of things into like online or digital. Even the COVID passports, a lot of them couldn't go places without having to download the QR code we had back then. Without that, I mean, without some of the services they can only access online, they wouldn't have access to them. So without the volunteer and the help and the education piece, their lives would be a lot more difficult for them to keep up. And that it's really easy to get left behind, especially with how fast technology updates. I mean, like last week, my coworker was using an AI to write her emails for her. Like changes like that, I'm still trying to keep up myself. So I can only imagine how many years of technology they've missed out on. So yeah, it's just getting them together, keeping them up to date with what's going on.
Maria, what impact has it had on your life as volunteer?
On my life, it's been a real joy. It's something I can look forward to. It's a connection that I've made, and I find that sometimes in the big city can be really hard to build a community, and having this to look forward to, and it's like scheduled social time. It's really nice, and it feels nice for me to be able to do something for them as well.
Noel, how's it changed your life? How has it improved your life?
Yeah, I can definitely sort of echo what Maria was saying, is that, I mean, it's very fortunate that I get to be in such a role, um, making at least some difference to these lives of our seniors. And yeah, I think especially coming from a family background, my family is Filipino, and so it's very family oriented. And I unfortunately grew up not being so close with my own grandparents, because they were in the Philippines and I was born and raised here. And so, in a way, it's become very personal, because I get to experience having my own grandparents of all different types and ages and here in Canada. And so, yeah, it's been a very wonderful experience just on such a personal level for me in that way.
Well, I think it's unusual that three young people volunteer their times to some degree, their talents, and to do this for seniors. And I'm sure they appreciate it far more than they maybe even tell you. And so, on behalf of those people who are watching this program, thank you so much for what you do and your dedication and your commitment. It's a testament to what other young leaders should do in Canada. And I congratulate you. I thank you for your time very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter.